of the days of Noah. But go back and look at this. It says, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up. The fountains of the great deep, and the ancient Hebrew understanding, and then the conversations I've had with the rabbis, are saying basically what is being said there is that there was a huge earthquake fault under the Atlantic, in which one day and one night that thing broke. And when it broke, the entire superstructure of Atlantis went under. We know that that is possible. We know that that is at least scientifically possible for a great island like Japan or any other great island of the sea. If the earthquake is sufficient, it would take under the entire country in one foul swoop. It's at least possible. Therefore, in my opinion, Atlantis is at least possible. Now, we move on from that. What does the mid-Atlantic ridge and the Atlantic fracture zone look like? Actual scientists have photographed the Atlantic ridge where basically Atlantis would have existed, and we're finding that there is, in point of fact, a huge earthquake fault under the Atlantic Ocean. Who knows what maybe that fault covers up? Perhaps there was something on top that now was sucked down into in a great catastrophe, and that fault closed over it. We know that we're finding stuff on the Atlantic floor which indicates that there are life forms who have been here and been in the Atlantic. Again, the fountains of the great deep were broken up. Well, there's an earthquake fault in the Atlantic. Now, could there have been an actual Atlantis? My personal opinion, with only the proof that is available, my personal opinion is yes. There's no doubt in my mind that Atlantis existed. Now, how it existed and its general description of Atlantis, I don't think any of us know, but I think it existed. I know something existed. I can prove that. We now know that there are ancient temples found under the oceans and all around the world. This is scientific, photographic fact. We know that there are temples and huge, enormous temple layouts of roads under the sea. And here are stones on the Atlantic floor, perfectly laid square stones on the Atlantic floor, which in nature does not ever appear. Nothing perfect in design appears in nature. But there are square stones laid out on the floor of the Atlantic. Again, you'll see this is off the coast of Japan, I think. Great temples have been found off of Okinawa in the ocean. Incidentally, I don't know if you know this or not, but Albert Einstein, I don't know if you can believe him, but he said that he believed that the Bermuda Triangle was a vortex for alien life forms to come through into our space on Earth. And he believed it was a vortex. He mentioned that in his writings. I started thinking, well, wait a minute. I've heard other scientists talk about vortexes through the Earth. I know about geomancy, or the science of ley lines. And then I read a book where it said if you take the globe, the Earth, and you draw on the globe the Bermuda Triangle and go straight through the Earth to the other side, it comes out in something called the Devil's Triangle off the coast, south of the coast of Japan, near what is called the Mariana Trench. One of the deepest spots on the oceans of the world today is the Mariana Trench. 7.5 to 8 miles straight down of water. But I thought, wait a minute, if the Bermuda Triangle, that triangle were to go through the Earth, yes, it is true. Charles Billets even wrote a book about the Devil's Triangle off the coast of Japan, which is identical to the Bermuda Triangle off the coast of Florida. And then you begin to see from different books and research books about UFOs coming out of the Devil's Triangle. Japanese airline pilots during the war, commercial airline pilots from Japan, Korea, and that whole part of Asia have many reports of seeing UFOs come out of that area and go back in many times. So maybe Einstein was right. Maybe there is some kind of a vortex going on right now in front of us, and we are too ignorant to even suspect it. Again, actually some of the scientists have theorized that it was the flow of, and this is just, to me is amazing, that there are actually people who are theorizing that these great walls were made by the flow of currents changing. The currents changed and caused this. And I was amazed to hear this on television, on things like the Discovery Channel. You have people who are paid lackeys of the system, the paid lackeys who get their paycheck from the universities to go out and tell all the poor, ignorant masses of the world, all the goy of the world, the poor, ignorant, ill-informed, unread masses, tell them anything, they'll believe it. They're so stupid. So tell them something, and they'll love it. And if you've got a PhD by your name, then they'll believe it. And tell them it's just the currents did that, and they'll believe it. Well, unfortunately, like Abraham Lincoln said, you can fool some of the people some of the time, and you can fool all the people some of the time, but you can't fool everybody all the time. No current in the world makes clean, crisp structures like this under the ocean. I'm totally convinced that there's something else going on here on the earth, and we haven't been told the whole story. While we're on the subject of temples under the ocean, another scripture comes to mind. This one's truly off the wall, if it's the one I'm thinking of. While we're on the subject of temples, under the oceans, two other scriptures come to mind. In the Christian scriptures, in the New Testament, Mark 5, 1 through 15, and in Hebrew, Old Testament, Job 26, 5. Now, Job 26, 5 is truly a remarkable, strange scripture. But let's start with, let's see what we got here. Okay, we start with 5. Mark 5, this is New Testament theology. And in the New Testament, we're told about Jesus comes upon a crazy man in the tombs that cannot be tied down. He breaks the chains. He's crazy. He's totally out of his mind. And he's demonic. He has a demon. And it says that Jesus approached this man and said, who are you? And the voice inside the man, the demon, said, we are a legion. Well, of course, a legion was like 10,000 in Latin terms. In the Latin military, a legion, I believe, was 10,000 men. So what was being said is that the spirit entity inside the man said there's 10,000 of us demons inside this man. Anyway, and all the devils besought Jesus, saying, send us into the swine, because Jesus was going to order, the scripture says Jesus was going to order the demons to come out of the man. And they said, don't do that. Don't take us out of this man. And when it was apparent he was going to anyway, then they said, all the devils besought Jesus, saying, send us into the swine, or into pigs, that we may enter into them. And forthwith Jesus gave them leave. And the unclean spirits came out of the man and entered into the pigs, or the swine. And the herds ran violently down a steep place into the sea. There were about 2,000. They were choked in the sea. I remember many years ago a philosopher talking about this. Why would these swine or pigs run into the sea when they were filled with demonic spirits? Is there something going on in the sea that they were using these animals? They were disembodied spirits. They have to be inside of a body until they can get to water, because your body is over 90% water. And if they can exist inside of your battery inside of your body, which is, as I said, is over 90% water, is there something going on that these spirit